Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to City Alpha 3, a podcast about Star Trek here on the Nerd Party. As always, I'm Philip Gilfus, tonight's host. But let me also introduce, from both coasts, my co-hosts Daniel and Darren here so far, and also joining us to talk here is Char. Our topic this week is about Deep Space Nine. We're talking about the documentary, What We Left Behind.
All
right, guys.
Is this a musical number? Is this going to be a musical podcast?
Well, the part where we all have to sing at the end is probably going to be... I mean, I didn't wear this tux for no reason.
It's really the only way people are going to listen to the credits, so we kind of have to.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk mechanics here. So I went to the movie theater the other week with my wife Jessica, and we watched it. Fathom event. And it was it was we were in sort of like the third row, up front. So, but we had the recliner seat, so it was fine to lean back and watch it. But it was like half full, maybe. It wasn't over full, wasn't empty. So, Darren, what was your cinematic experience like seeing Deep Space Nine in the theater? Which I actually did snap a picture. I haven't posted yet of actually seeing. When you go to the box office on the movie thing, Deep Space Nine.
Oh, the little
marquee are going to see that
above the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to see it with Char. We rendezvoused at a central location, and we tried to I picked a slightly bigger theater just as far as number of seats because I thought, bigger theater equated bigger screen. And it was about maybe 15 people, maybe
Tops.
20.
Wow.
Maybe 20 tops. I mean, it was pretty sparse.
But it was cool because I had that feeling, that moment we all walked in where it's like, but everybody here loves Star Trek because there's no reason you would be here if you didn't. And people had pips on, and, I don't think anyone was in full uniform, but it was, you could tell, these were our people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. People were wearing Star Trek t-shirts and whatnot. It was kind of that whole convention kind of feeling. Like you're saying, my people, we all automatically have something in common. We have friends that we can talk with if we want to.
And Daniel,
but we didn't because we respected the movie-going experience. So
we talked with people afterward, like good people.
That's true. After.
But you're at least texting to each other during the movie, though, right? That's usually okay. Daniel, what was your movie-going experience like?
Well, in terms of that, there was a young girl in line in front of us that was wearing a Bajoran earring. And I had to resist the temptation to yell at her for being out of regulation. But actually, I would say it wasn't full, but I would say 75% capacity. So it was a pretty good crowd. And you could tell a lot of people were excited. A lot of people, like Char said, were wearing pips or a t-shirt or what. I don't think anybody went full on cosplay, but there was just a lot of people there, and the energy was good. It was a good experience.
No one did their 3 hours in full Cardassian makeup. I mean, so it sounds like a lot of half-assed fans out there.
And you guys all saw it on Monday,
it's
right?
It's a Monday night. Come on.
Yeah, Monday.
Monday night.
Because we noticed, because we were checking Fandango right before it started, and we saw a showing on Wednesday also appearing. And I'm like, I don't remember there being 2 showing days, but maybe it was a glitch in the Matrix.
And then I thought I saw a non-US date that was going to be later. That popped up. I don't know if it was Europe or UK or something, but anyway.
I think I saw it maybe a tweet today or just recently that they might have another showing next month as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Mid-June.
I thought that was Europe.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Maybe we're all thinking
UK
the same
cinemas.
Thing. Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Or cinemas. Now, so we talked about the movie-going experience, and we're going to talk about it, but let's talk about what we were bringing with ourselves going in. So, Daniel, just in a nutshell, what's your Deep Space Nine thoughts? About that as a live action Star Trek series. Last week we talked about all the million shows that are happening in the next year or two. In the past, Deep Space Nine, as we've called here on the show, the Legacy Trek. Where does that sort of rank, literally or figuratively, in your Star Trek franchise fandom?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's no surprise to anybody here that TNG is my favorite, but Deep Space Nine is very, very close behind. Definitely my second favorite show. I love Deep Space Nine. So I was really excited to come to watch the documentary, although I didn't know what to expect, and I think that was probably the best way to approach it, because it turned out to be a little strange and a little unexpected. But I was super excited, because it definitely is
that was my internet comment in 1990 about Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Strange and unexpected.
They printed it out and read it. Yeah,
they read it. I read one of my ones. I was very excited. It was funny. But.
So I was really excited about it, and it's kind of an oft-quoted thing, but it is the most ignored corner of Star Trek, I guess, if you don't include maybe the animated series or something. But it is, so to see it get this treatment was exciting and refreshing, and as a fan, I felt really satisfied from that.
All right, Darren, what were you? I mean, if you can sort of take out your present knowledge, what were you kind of looking forward to seeing about Deep Space Nine in this documentary of the 7 years of the series?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was looking forward to seeing the HD converted shots, because we knew that had been done. I didn't quite know how much we were going to get, and it was I was a little thrown off, because the movie time stamp on the ticket was like 2:10, like 2 hours and 10. I'm like, that is a really long documentary, and I think actually a lot of that was made up by the after panel with the editors, which is cool, which is fine.
Nerds.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm glad that they at the very beginning said, "Oh, hey, we're gonna have this thing, so don't leave," because there's literally no indication of it except for once the credits finish and then it comes on. So they knew what they were doing. But no, I was just like, okay, let's see what. I really didn't know what to expect, because I'd seen like the trailer, and they have a couple little. Let's just say the opening was not what I was expecting at all. But I'll let Daniel, or I'll let some more people reveal their invitation. I was just looking forward to hearing people who obviously love the show talk about the show, because that's what's best documentaries.
Sure. And then, Char, before I let you talk, I just wanted to say, so what brought me to see it was because it was Star Trek. I mean, I'm me, you slap Star Trek on the label, I'm gonna watch it. So Deep Space Nine, not known to everyone as my favorite series. I don't actively hate it or anything, unlike some other series. But anyway, no, I'm kidding. But so I mean, I was looking forward to hearing them talk about as someone who's redheaded, I often see Deep Space Nine as being self-persecuted as this redheaded stepchild series. But so I was open to anything, and so that was brought me there. My wife, of course, my wonderful wife, slogged through it, because she hasn't seen all Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So, but it was interesting. I think she enjoyed it as well. So, but Char, what were you kind of bringing in your fandom going to watch this documentary with Darren?
I was kind of in the same mindset as Darren. I was just kind of going into it as a fan, interested in what the actors, the writers had to say about DS9 all these years later. I'm hoping for some real talk, but really, I mean, aside from the HD stills, I had no idea really what to expect going in. I wasn't following it super closely. Like, I knew it was a thing, but I wasn't paying so much attention that I knew that they were going to do the writer's room and stuff like that. So I had no idea that was even going to be happening. So that was pretty cool. And from the trailer, I kind of wondered, was this going to be an in defense of DS9 kind of documentary? And it kind of starts out that way when they're reading the hate mail. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm still going to get on board with this, because like you said, Philip, if it has Star Trek in it, I'm at least going to give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
I will buy a ticket to see it once, and that's all you're getting from me.
Right. So it ended up not being that the entire time whatsoever. It was actually kind of funny that they, were able to kind of laugh at that and enjoy it, appreciate it for what it is. And no, it ended up just being this great celebration of DS9, and it was loads of fun.
Right. And next I do want to talk about sort of the overall sort of the construction, for lack of a better word, of the documentary. But
there's a lot of air quotes around construction.
I would definitely say
I'll get to that in a moment.
It's an interesting way to put it. I'll say that.
Yeah. But as I've sort of told folks here and tweeted before, I sort of do have like the smallest, a nanite-sized chip on my shoulder that like DS9's documentary is like, man, this love letter, 7 years, guys, oh man, everything's awesome. And like TNG gets like, man, those first 2 years sucked.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
our
the
documentary.
chaos on the bridge.
That's the TNG documentary. So anyway, moving on. But anyway, but Char, and we'll get into the specifics, but sort of overall, what'd you think of sort of how the documentary was, edited, outlined, you know what I'm trying to say, how it was sort of, it wasn't just sort of like a typical documentary, and there's no such thing necessarily, but it's usually a little thematic, like, here's the portion we talk about the actors, here's the portion we talk to the writers, and this is more of the marble cake documentary method of just...
Yeah, I think I follow what you're saying here, where it's kind of a mishmash of probably like 3 really big elements. And I do find it interesting that they did acknowledge in the documentary itself, we weren't really sure what this was going to be. And I think you could kind of tell because it had a few different directions going on for it, but they found some weird way to jumble them together and make it work just because it's entertaining to watch. So you have the writers' stuff, you've got some of the HD stuff, you've got the actors talking, you've got the writers doing their thing, you've got clips of a lot of fan stuff with the conventions and whatnot. And somehow, and I'm not entirely sure because I want to watch it several more times, but it does manage to work somehow, at least a little bit.
So you're going to get that Blu-ray or digital copy in the fall, and you can officially say you have DS9 on Blu-ray.
Indeed. That's probably the closest we're ever going to get. And yes, I am going to get it because I want those special features.
And then at the end, Char, you can tell us what the Voyager documentary should be like.
Oh, man, I wish. I freaking wish. That's the thing is I'm like, who would do the Voyager documentary? Because I don't think Brian and Braga has any interest in doing it. Jerry Taylor is retired and happy, and I don't think she ever wants to touch Star Trek again. Michael Pillar's no longer with us.
Mm-hmm. I got nothing.
Brian Fuller, he's off doing a gazillion other things.
He would have
no
finish
idea
it though,
who would do it.
and then walk away, and then too soon.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else is left that loved Voyager so much that they would give years of their time, like Iron Bear did.
Maybe Garrett.
Maybe Garrett Wong would do it. He could rile up the fan base. I would give him my money.
I mean, he's very active in the fan community. But anyway, but yes. So Daniel, what did you sort of think of how they did this documentary? That crazy Ira, but of course he had to go get Avery's blessing. Avery, what do you want me to do, Avery? And he said, what was the quote there?
So construction. When you said the word construction, it's such an interesting term because this documentary doesn't feel constructed as much as it just feels like you just dropped a bunch of things and it all fell into place where it was, and then that's just how it was. Like my biggest, I guess you'd say, complaint, it doesn't feel like a complaint, but my biggest issue is the fact that it's so scattershot and completely, but then that's so Ira, it feels like that it's like
exactly,
it's like, so you can't really complain. And on the other hand, it touches so many subjects that it does just feel like a love letter. It actually does feel like it's just celebration of Deep Space Nine.
Well, no, come on, Daniel. Love letters have Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis.
It's that is the biggest weakness, I'd say, of the documentaries. There's no flow. There's no real narrative. It's just stuff. There's just stuff, and then there's some things, and then we switch back to stuff. And which is fine, and because it's all good stuff, and it's stuff that we want to see. But I think that if really to and especially with something like 5 years put into it or whatever it was, and all this Kickstarter money, not to say that what we got was bad, but it's just like, and he mentioned it in his roundtable. He's like, I've never done a documentary before. Well, Ira, I gotta be honest.
Say, Ira.
I gotta be honest.
You don't
it kind of
say.
shows. So if maybe with a little extra help, they could have just sweetened the pot a little bit, but it's a minor complaint. It's just don't expect any sort of continuity from one scene to another from whatever is happening. It's just like go in, sit down, and have fun. But it was interesting. I'll say that.
I believe Avery was don't let it be a bunch of talking heads. And it was not, which is, it's what a documentary. But anyway, so Darren, I know you're a film, TV, all that. How do you see this as a documentary? Because in some ways, I really have no complaints about because it's sort of an attention deficit thing. Show a little bit and then move on to a little bit and then move on to a little and then go back to what we, So
no, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It did present a lot of really good information. I think the feeling that took a long time to shake off at the very beginning was I felt like I was in the planning meeting and they were all talking and they're like, okay, so we should open up on this and it's going to be like
HD.
No, wait. We're going to start with the HD because everybody wants the HD. But, wouldn't it be funny if Garrick then shows up and it's like, here, you had the... No, wait, we got to put the HD later. Oh, guys, what would be even funnier? Open up with a musical number. And then they never went past that first pitch session. And they just made that document. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it felt like there was no counter to that first pitch session.
It kind of reminds me of like when you're trying to get some actors to come on board, and you're not paying them money, presumably, or maybe you are. And they're like, "Sure, we'll do it." But we have our musical group, and like we'd really, fans love it. We'd love to be able to do that. I mean, that's kind of what
you need to pad those minutes. So hey,
okay. I mean, sure. We can do that. We can do that, right? Anyway, but no, I think it's all fun. It's all great. So let's go ahead and get to some specifics. And as much as this is the one of the main draws of the documentary, of course, the story behind everything, but really just sort of upfront. What we've talked about, HD, DS9 and HD, Char will now cry because Voyager still not. But,
never gonna happen. I've had to accept it.
But Darren, 22 minutes, was that what it was? 22 minutes of HD Star Trek Deep Space Nine. What'd you think?
It looked great. And
they said it was crazy. They said it was,
No, I liked all the HD was cool, and that's the thing is, I thought it was I thought originally we were just getting the what was it? Something of Angels,
Sacrifice of Angels
stuff. So then when we started getting all these other clips, and I'm like, did they just convert like everything we saw? And then they later confirmed that that's what they had done. But I hadn't realized that we were getting, all these clips, which makes sense. I mean, if you're gonna do the whole thing in HD, do it all in HD, and that was, it was just really cool to see, and also on the big screen. I mean, yeah, when we get the Blu-ray, it's going to be fun to watch on our home TV, but it's still not going to be as big as seeing it in a theater. So, no, I was really happy with, all those components, especially, because especially it just felt like it was in focus. I mean, you look at all the comparisons of like the SD folk, and you just know it's not their fault, but it's like it looks like it's just not in focus because we're so used to HD now.
Yeah, and again, I know this is not. I'm not a technical guy, but like the whole when they had what's his face be like, what was it? I'm gonna get this wrong. We widened it or stretched it, and so he's like, you're gonna lose some top and bottom.
So
he's
they
like,
shot
whatever.
it with 16:9 in mind, meaning it's shot 4:3, which is standard television ratio before it went to 16:9. And what they meant is basically there's padding in the frame at the top and the bottom so that if you matted that, you wouldn't actually lose. It's not going to cut off someone's head or be something that you really need. So, yeah, and I think it took me a while to notice that too. When they were showing us the HD stuff, I'd like, this is not a square. This is a rectangle. And it looked great. I mean, it framed really well. So that was... Also, I mean, it's not only the fact that we're not getting the whole thing in HD, we're not getting it in a beautiful 16:9 frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is something that we didn't get in TNG, obviously, because it was filmed differently. If they actually did all of Deep Space Nine, that would be an even bigger upgrade in terms of overall
is rematting it.
Right,
yeah.
What you're seeing in quality. So that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, so, to me, this documentary was, in many ways, split into a bunch of ways, but split in kind of two ways. Actors and writers. And so, to me, going into it, you sort of assumed you were going to get, it's going to be mostly about the actors.
And Iris Stephen Bear at the beating heart at the center of it all.
Yeah, which I like that they kept calling him showrunner because I'm like, that's not what they called him, but that's fine. But I was like, there was 3 producers on that shit. But it doesn't matter. But I get what they're saying, head writer. I get it. But it really seemed to almost this in a good way, more about the writers. But that's fine. But let's talk actors first, right? Because that's what we want to see. So Char, were you? What did you think of the actors that we got to hear from? Who was sort of your favorite to hear from, and what would you take away from the actors we got to hear from? Because we got all of them mostly.
I think my favorite moment from the actors was pretty early off, where Andrew Robinson was talking about Garrick, and the first season or first couple of seasons, he's like, "Oh yeah, he was totally gay for Bashir." Confirmation. Yes. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
That's like
That
the
might have
first thing
been
out
the
of his
biggest...
mouth. It's like literally the first thing he said in the.
It really was. And I'm just thinking, I'm so into this thing right now. It was fantastic. I loved that.
I think I heard my wife laughing when they would show the shots of like him touching Bashir and
Oh, dear doctor.
Right? Yeah. It was great. I mean, everybody, it was awesome to see everybody again. And I mean, you could kind of tell that they shot things in pieces. Some things was probably a good few years ago now, and then they did several things later on. They got some stuff at conventions, what have you. Everybody kind of, spoke honestly and with kind of not the rose-colored glasses, but with a little bit of, I don't know, not a little bit of romanticism, I think, without doling down that, yes, there was a little bit of drama, like with Terry leaving and whatnot. They were honest about that stuff. But the pain, it wasn't like it was going to be a sob fest. It kept things upbeat and energetic, and you could just tell that even though the days were incredulously long, people really genuinely were committed and loved what they did, and they savored every moment that they possibly could, knowing that it was going to be 7 years of just magic, and that they truly loved each other. And as a fan, that just warms my heart. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I thought it was interesting with Terry because having seen the documentary, still can't tell you what happened, and I think it's very human.
We're never gonna know. Never. I mean, there's her side, there's Rick Berman's side, and then somewhere in between all of the mayhem is the truth. We'll never know as the fans. And you know what?
And that's
Let's
what Michael
just accept
Dorn
that.
said, right? He's like, basically all we have is what they've told us, and we'll never really know the whole picture. But that's just kind of how it is. And it's. I think the one thing I was kind of not expecting, but usually documentaries like this have more behind the scenes shots, like, getting into makeup or shenanigans behind the scenes, but usually those documentaries are only focusing on like a specific season or something like that. So, but yeah, I think like you said, Philip, you had the actors and you had the writers room, and I liked all the writers room stuff too. Like that actually gave it probably the most structure of the entire documentary is the writers room. And everything else is kind of filtered around that. Not in a bad way, but it's just how it happened.
I'm trying to remember. There was, it's one of those sort of like unicorn sightings. There was footage of Avery in this. So
yes.
I'm not sure it was. I think it may have been archived footage.
That's
I
what
think
I
it
was-
may have been.
That's what
I was surprised they had footage of Avery. That's
I was
At all.
I was just going to say that. Like, how are they going to handle Avery? Because he's famously
Nobody handles Avery.
He's famously Avery, and they have that whole big section about him and stuff. And then they have those 2 interviews, and it must be archived. It must be, but. And then of course we don't see him again, and it's like, okay, I mean, I guess that's the best you can do.
he's not in the big group shot. He's
No.
not, and I mean, we don't. I'd kind of known a little about Avery, but man, when they kind of lay it out, it's like this is what Avery's like. He's like the jazz singer,
Jazz
and
musician.
Yeah.
the jazz musician, and you
Jazz
listen
musician.
to him talk, and you're like, wow,
He's a little
yeah,
bit crazy,
this is how this guy talks, and I can understand him, but I feel like I shouldn't understand him.
Well,
Well,
we
he's-
all watched The Captains in the day when that happened.
Yes.
We know that this is just the way Avery Brooks is. This is how he operates. Back then, when I first saw The Captains, I mean, I was kind of tripped out. Like, what is he on, and where can I get it? Because it was just a mind bender. But that's just the way Avery is.
Yeah,
Wasn't
it
as big of a
reminds me.
surprise here.
And this is the only thing that Char and I will understand, but you guys will a little bit. He's sort of the American Chris Eccleston. star of the show, and then just never returns to it. But no, I mean, Avery shows a little bit more than Chris does. But Avery, I think, is an auteur, just like Chris Eccleston is a actor.
He doesn't have to do anything, so it's his choice, and that's really just where it is.
Well, I think it's that he's very serious about his craft. Not that the other people aren't, but he's serious about his craft, which is fine. He's fine. He directed, obviously. He did a lot. And so, like, when they, like, his first AD in her interview, he's like, what do you want? You got to tell me what you want, Avery. He's like, oh yeah, do this. That's what I want, Avery. Thank you. So yeah, and him on the floor in that scene, just not overacted at all.
Probably on the stars.
Yeah. That's very actory. It's fine. But I deal with those people in theater, and it's an interesting subspecies. It's great. But the fact that a lot of what he brought into Deep Space Nine, this story of the future of brown people, as he would say, is obviously a huge part of that series. And but Daniel, what other actors did you enjoy hearing from in stories?
So I just real quick, as
other than watching Terry and Nicole sit next to each other.
What I was thinking when you were kind of introducing the topic, where like, there's rose-colored glasses, and people were looking back. I feel like Colm just totally sees this as like some other job. Like he was just like, yeah, it was fine. I showed up and I did my stuff.
I mean, once you've been on 2 Star Trek shows, it's just kind of a thing that happens.
I just like that he's a bit of an asshole, but in a good way. He's a movie star. He got Deep Space Nine to basically say, I'll be in your TV series, but I'm going to still go make movies whenever I want to. Is that cool? Yeah. Okay then.
Well, Darren and I were talking. We were talking about how the character of O'Brien on DS9 really had the least potential for growth on that show, and so all he really did have to do was kind of show up. He was set.
Oh yeah, with the no makeup and stuff. Yeah, that was awesome.
More or less, yeah. He had no makeup. I mean, on DS9, he's married. He's got the kid. He gets another one. He has his job. He gets tortured from time to time, and that sucks. But
enough about his friendship with Bashir.
He needs to show up and play darts, though. Hey, come on, yeah.
I liked how when they were interviewing J.J. Hertzler and Robert O'Reilly, the lower third for Robert O'Reilly was like Silent Bob, and I'm like, why did they say that? And then he doesn't say a thing in this. At least in the clip they used, he didn't say a word. I'm like, okay, there's a story there, but I guess we're not going to hear it right now.
Well, I think it was also there was a lot on the cutting room floor, but we can talk about
that's true.
that later.
Well, they even talk about that at the very end, which was kind of fun, where Nana and Ira was like, well, what about this? And it was like, well, hey, we had it. It was in, it was out. It was in, it was out. What about this?
They got Larry down to one line. I mean, come on, that's editing, guys. That's editing. So,
serious.
But yeah, I was just drinking.
I liked how they talked about Damar, about Casey Biggs.
Yes, correct.
And I'd forgotten that. Yeah, he just starts out as this lieutenant, whoever, who says like,
number 2.
Activate shields. And when they showed it in that dichotomy of like, you go from raising shields, sir, to I call on Cardassia to fight, and his like impassioned speech from the end, and you're like, yeah, that character, man, he grew.
Speaking of characters, apparently Mark Alamo is a character because he got filmed alone, apparently due to popular demand. So yeah, it was interesting to hear Nana's take on him and his take on her. So
apparently, no one told him he did a good job until years later.
Look, we kept hiring you.
We kept bringing you back. That's how writers tell you they like you. It's like, well, that a little in between the lines, but
here we go again. Here we go again, Mark.
And so one thing I thought it was interesting that like we often hear about the deep roster of secondary characters that Deep Space Nine had, but just them listing them, like going through the people that they had on retainer or whatever it's called.
It's a long list.
And it was just like, and you're like, oh my God, like that's even more than you normally think about. You're like, they have these people that like, hey, you could be in next week's episode. Just be ready if
hey,
you're called.
Eddington's gonna be in this week. He'll call him up on speed dial 8. It's like, what? You had him on retainer well, until he died or whatever, but
Oh, spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, he didn't die. Never mind. He was taken into custody or something. I forget.
And then before we move on to writers, unless you got something else about the actors, one thing I did hear that was interesting, and is it sounds like Armin, because I think Armin is an actor too, but in a good way. Where he had all the Ferengi at his house to do all Ferengi rehearsals. That sounds really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, sort of built the Ferengi family.
And no, I liked hearing that, and I felt just all these cool little things, bringing on Worf. That was interesting because I never thought of it that way. How it felt for the regulars when you bring on Michael Dorn, this famous character from the popular air quote show.
I don't think you have to air quote it, Darren, but go ahead.
And how that might feel like, okay, is it really that bad that they have to do this? But fortunately, it sounds like they all, treated him great, and they're like, it's not you, it's production and executives and things like that. But and like you guys said at the very beginning when they're talking about all the fan stuff, because again, this was 93, so the internet wasn't really a fully fledged, social media
was
had yet to be a thing. No, I'm just meaning like I just didn't hear any of this, and I was fine with that because I was just like enjoying it, and I never felt that DS9 was terrible, and I never thought it was, not Star Trek. And I'm listening to these people and I'm like, really? Oh, okay. Like, I'm sad that that's what got through to them, because I don't think that's true at all.
Not to that degree, but that was me. I mean, DS9 came on and I was like, why? I'm like, okay. TNG is still on, right? Well, then that's what I'm doing. I mean, I had no interest in Deep Space Nine. Zero. Zilch. Nada. And so I did not start watching until Worf came on. I was like, oh, well, I'll see what's going on then. I mean, I was literally the stereotype of, and I'm not saying this is true, but I was sort of like, Deep Space Nine got good when Defiant, and then Worf showed up. That's all when I started caring. So, no, but of course there's got other good stuff, early stuff. I'm being facetious, but that was how I approached it in live, 90s. Like, oh, okay. And then TNG was off, and like, to me, and people could disagree, like, Voyager was not competing with that was sort of just so different. Like, I can get TNG DS9 kind of messed up in some ways, but it makes sense. You kind of it's a jumping off, synergy and all that. But I was like, I didn't have trouble in my mind of like, oh, which one do I choose, Voyager or Deep Space Nine? I'm like, well, I can watch both, And
TNG that was true. They did talk about that, how their show was never on by itself. It always overlapped the ship show. Yeah.
But I don't think when Voyager was on its own, like, it was like, oh, that's when all the people started watching Voyager. But,
yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
I don't think so either. But, oh, sorry, Char, you're still here.
But yes, I am.
But what do you think, Char? I mean, both about in real life, as you as a viewer and a fan, and then what they were saying on the show about Michael Dorn and also how the actors saw what was going on.
That was an interesting perspective that I hadn't thought of before, was how maybe they were reacting. I mean, as a fan, I like Worf. It was exciting to maybe see him, and I'm wondering, okay, what are they going to do?
Get some of that Worf juice in there. That'll do it.
Yeah, like, how's this going to work out?
Don't bring his son, though. Just Worf.
They did, though. They did.
Right. No Alexander.
They brought his son.
I mean, as a fan, I kind of wonder, like, was it a gimmick to bring him on? Like, do they need that star power? And then from the actors to hear them think, oh, you need this because apparently what you have just isn't enough. It's not enough. And I don't know. I never felt that way about DS9. But I did understand, okay, they are trying to bring more people in. But I can also see how that would make the actors feel a little hurt. Like, they were doing great work. And can it be their own thing? But then they did find a way to make it beautifully work, integrating Worf into the crew and making it interesting. And everybody did get along. Thank goodness, because we all know what happened on Voyager when Jerry Ryan joined the cast. And that just, that breaks my heart still. Thank goodness nobody on DS9 had that kind of reaction. And so, I hadn't really thought, though, just how that might actually hurt the actors a little bit, bringing on an actor from the good show, essentially.
And how did y'all think about the actors read mean tweets, of...
Again, it felt like, oh, hey, remember that thing where actors read mean tweets about themselves? Let's put that in our documentary. And then
what are the kids like? Let's see what the kids like. Well, like, for instance, and it's 100% fine. I'm not complaining about this, but I'm just saying, I don't know about you guys' theaters' reactions or your personal reactions, but when Armin was like, they're saying these things, but we're doing good things, and you know what? We were the best Trek. I'm like, meh.
That's subjective.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally
Bias.
subjective.
I respect his opinion, but we all have our bias.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. You can love your series, and that's good. You want to be a cheerleader. I mean, if you don't like what you're doing, then it would be bad.
Well, he's not going to say, but you know what? We were the second best Trek. No, he's not going to say that.
Nobody's going to say that.
Exactly.
Oh, Enterprise. So let's go on to the writers then. Sort of the writers' room and talking about that. What did you guys think of hearing more about the writers, quote unquote, behind the scenes? And then what did you think of them seeing the process? And we'll talk about the actual episode that they put together, but just seeing the process and hearing from the writers. What did you all think of that?
Well, being the co-host of Punch It, oh my goodness, I was taking furious notes in my head as to their process and how they were doing stuff, and boy, it made me really, 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 really wish that for Punch It we could actually, me and Tristan could be in the same room with a bunch of whiteboards and actually sketch things out the way they did. It just made me really giddy inside. Just watching them bounce ideas like that, I was inspired.
And in some ways, I don't know whether I like that it takes them 2 days to do that. Like, man, I want that job. I mean, I know it's hard, but like 2 days, like full days.
Well, I mean, you gotta think some things through. They made it look easy. Editing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I was laughing with it because they were kind of. I mean, it's been a long time, and they're trying to like pull things out of the memory, and they're like, "Wait, how did that happen with that one character again? Who?" Like, I would have laughed if one of them was like, "Let me look on Memory Alpha."
I would have loved it.
That would have been the best. But
I love when that happens.
and then boom, we kill Nog.
You're not the only ones, guys. We do it all the time.
I know, because it happened. I can't remember what the context was, where they were trying to explain to someone. Because maybe he left the series early or something, and they're like, no, this happened and this happened. It's like kind of what we do on the show sometimes. But usually we edit out. We're like, no, remember that character did that and did that and did that. Okay. He's like, oh, okay, that was okay. But yeah, it was interesting. One thought I had, and this is going to be me saying, I suddenly noticed the sky was blue, and so this is going to be completely stupid, but I'll say it anyway. Man, is that a white male room? I was looking at it going like,
word.
Oh boy, wow. Now, of course, it's TNG, well, to the extent you had Fontana. But I'm like, you have the show with this captain and his family, and they have this whole segment talking about having sort of these brown family in space, and we had these shots. I was like looking around, going like, these are a bunch of white guys. But okay, so that's one thing I think I'm glad about Discovery. Diversity out the wazoo, both in front and behind the camera. But all that said, obviously they still did a lot of great stuff. But sort of, Daniel, what do you think of sort of the writing process and the writers? And you got to see Ron. Got to see Ronald again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was excited to see Ron, but I know we're going to talk more about the actual episode, which was, I think, a little more troublesome. But the process was amazing to actually watch. That was actually a really because a lot of times you remove yourself from that. You don't think you watch an episode of Star Trek and maybe I'm sure Char thinks about this way more than I do, or maybe some people do and don't, but people that aren't writers don't think about it like somebody in a room sat down and thought about this. It's fully formed in front of your face, and you get what is presented to you. It's amazing to see it kind of start and then grow and then change and weave, and it's like that kind of process, and then of course Deep Space Nine is such an interesting kind of dynamic show with all these different characters and all this stuff, so there's a lot going on, and you get to watch these people, and of course it's different now. Of course, this is 20 years later. I mean, it's even for them, I'm sure it's different than it was at the time, but it's still interesting to kind of watch where they get their ideas from, who shuts who down, where they say, no, we're not going to go in that direction, we're going to go in this direction, or whatever. Or that what Darren just mentioned, which I thought was hilarious, when they're like, how did he get that thing? How did we do that? Like, what was that process? And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. It was just that thing that we made up for them to get to this place or whatever. It was, I thought it was intensely fascinating. It was the best like view into the Star Trek writers' room that I've ever seen, and I really, really appreciated it for that.
Now, Char, I know you do a video podcast with your husband talking Babylon 5. I think what you need to do is have you and Tristan do your punch it, and then have the someone draw all your scenes. I mean, that pops. That stuff pops when you do that. So you need, you could add that to punch it. I think it would work.
The punch. That would be amazing. If you got ideas on how to make that happen.
You need an artist as your third co-host, just to.
I do. If there's anybody out there who has really nice, like, I don't know, calligraphic writing or just really good at sketching, hit us up. Let's try and work this out. Let's make this happen.
Do the little sort of cardboard movements of the.
Yeah. We have talked about that. Like, is there a way we could do a virtual whiteboard? And there's not a whole heck of a lot of options. Like, we would have to, one, convert it to a vidcast, and then also just the technology to actually have an interactive whiteboard between the two of us, or having a third. Who would that be? What would happen? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, but the logistics have just kept us from doing it because we just like to get in front of the mic and spitball ideas.
Well, I think maybe if you did some funding for the Punch It documentary, we can talk later.
Well, I think first Tristan needs to grow a purple beard.
Right. Well, as
and
always,
I'm getting me a pair of those eyeglasses because
you will
those
never
are
see your
rockstar
eyes.
Glasses.
Yeah. If you've seen Ira's eyes, you have been turned to stone. That's how that works. Darren, what'd you think about the creative process before we talk about what they created?
Yeah, no, it was cool. And again, it's edited down. It reminded me that
they were like, guys, it's like 4:00. I'm like, we've just been watching this for 10 minutes. What'd you do for 8? There's a lot of like Simpsons references and Monty Python, and looking at their phones, and then like, I don't know.
But it reminded me that Star Trek is usually a 4-act structure, just because of like commercial breaks and such. You have the open teaser, and then you have the 3 acts or the 4 acts. And it was really interesting just how they put things together and toss things around. A couple times ideas get turned away or get morphed into something. I think it was also the fact that this was a pie in the sky. We could do whatever we want. We don't even have to think about a whole season. It's literally just the first episode.
I think we get 22 episodes out of this, Darren. Maybe 24.
Ha! 20, 22. You're lucky you get 10. You will be happy with it.
All right. Well, let's talk about Season 8, Episode 1, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Daniel, how'd you enjoy Captain Nog's run?
He lasted a long time. See, I was thinking that, especially because they actually give you their those writings in segments, right? So that you get the teaser as kind of a teaser. So I was thinking that it was going to be some sort of like a lie or a cheat somehow that he was going to come back, but no, they killed him. They straight up killed him right off. In fact,
welcome to Game of Thrones era.
Yeah, Aaron was very unhappy about it. So
yeah, they cut to him. He's like,
screw
no!
you guys. First a leg and now the whole body.
Yeah. I don't know. It was really interesting, and I caught this, and I think, Philip, maybe you probably were the only person to stand up and cheer. I don't know if that happened, but when they're like, we made Section 31, that's our thing, and they got all excited about it, and they're like, we know we used they in the movies, but that's our thing, and it's like, okay, I don't mind Section 31 in certain elements, but it was interesting that that's the direction that they went for their season 8 season premiere, and now Bashir is the head of Section 31, and I'm like, you're making a lot of leaps here. I don't know if I can follow you along all of these leaps. And
yeah. In the end, when they're like, yeah, we could have talked about the Mirror Universe, I'm like, well, thank God you didn't. So,
so I didn't love the direction they went, honestly, but it was cool to watch them all do it.
Mm-hmm. So, Darren, huge arc, serialization. That's the name of the game when it comes to Deep Space Nine. This first episode, we have Bajoran conspiracy with the Jem'Hadar. We have the return of Cisco. We have Cisco's children.
The return of Cisco is kind of like the return of Skywalker. He doesn't say anything, and it's the last 2 seconds of the movie. But
when he's holding out the phaser,
yeah. She hands him his comm badge and says,
him.
"Put it in the right place. Put it in the right place." Now No, I liked some of the twists that I liked the best were like Molly being in Starfleet and being on the ship, and Cisco's other son. I can't remember his name.
Joseph was named after his grandfather.
Yeah, Joseph. That was cool too because again, obviously it's also because they're animated and it's harder to tell who's who, but I like that twist because again, I totally forgot. Oh, it's been 20 years or whatever since this, and he would have grown up, and again about the whole getting the Bajorans into the Federation, and I think at first I didn't really like what they were doing with Kira, making kind of pitting her against everyone, but then I kind of went into it and was like, okay, actually, like,
Vedic Kira.
It's okay for her to have a different opinion and a different goal than everybody. We're not all and when she's kind of like, this is my station now, get off. It's like, yeah, you kind of have the right to do that. So, it was really interesting. And I'd love to see Vedic Kira, with the hat,
I do love how because edited, but whatever. But I'm sure it seemed pretty accurate of like just coming up with names. Where like, there's Major.
Yeah, and then they say something, and it's like, what's now his name? For it's like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that was great.
Whatever.
And he was
even funnier. They're like, wait, let's check memory alpha and make sure we haven't used that name before.
Somebody just said two syllables together, and they're like, okay,
that's let's call him Movin. Perfect.
No, I love it because it's how things work in life, but especially with writers. You either like it, don't like it, or don't care. And this came under don't care, fine, sure, whatever. It's now in. As long as I don't like it, it's in.
Even in the illustrations, he was completely generic. He had no sort of interesting characteristics. All right, fine. He's just the guy that is Kira's number 2.
Yeah, I did. I actually agreed with something they did. Deep Space Nine, right? No, but I mean, I liked. It was intriguing. A lot was intriguing, but I loved how they're like, "Oh yeah, who would we have? Detective Odo," and they're like, "No. We don't have to show everyone. We could say." I was like, "Yes," because I was thinking in my head.
Right.
I was like,
wait, and Odo's coming back. It's like everybody's coming back right now.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's because maybe you don't even show him for the whole first season, or whatever. But I did like those choices. So Char, this is your whole thing. You
that's
basically
like people, saw. No, I just want to say that's like people saying like, oh yeah, then Wesley shows up. It's like, wait, did we not fully? He has his whole own arc. Like you don't just. He doesn't just show up at a wedding.
But yes, but Char, how'd you love Punch It Live documentary edition?
Yeah, I was much more in love with the process than maybe the final episode. I mean, I would definitely tune in and watch it. There were some elements that I wasn't the biggest fan of, like bringing out Section 31. Yeah, I know that they got that party started, but maybe it's just the fact that we know that we're getting a Section 31 show, making me think, I don't want to be bombarded with Section 31. And like you, Darren, I was a little weary of what they were doing with Kira at first, and then it clicked and made a lot of sense, and I'm thinking, she's going to be such a badass, though. And so I was on board with it, even though she was kind of being the bad guy. I mean, she was fully in her right to do what she was doing, and it's going to cause a lot of trouble, and that makes good storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of reminds, it is its own thing. Kind of reminds me a little bit, very little bit, of sort of Admiral Riker in All Good Things, little drifted apart, I mean, because I can get where she's now, and she's always been obviously very super Bajoran. In other words, Bajoran interest first. But, Deep Space Nine, she worked with a team, family, blah, blah, blah. But, now that she's grown up even more and is always going to be very Bajoran first, not in a negative way, but in my people, I want to protect them after all they've suffered, but so she's sort of like packing the Starfleet people in the basement, which is a little weird, but that's fine, I guess. But anyway, yes, but it is that her interest is still not going to be Starfleet and Federation. It's always going to be, and now that I don't know, Daniel. I don't know if I really want your answer, but what did you sort of think about the Section 31 plan to destroy religion?
I was very flip-floppy about it because I'm like, well, what are they trying to say? Are they trying? Because Star Trek generally is
I could hear your gears whirring from when I saw that. He's like,
Star Trek is generally not anti-religion, but it is agnostic, at least. And so I'm like, it usually leaves it alone, lets it do its own thing, and then they're like, now Starfleet is trying to actively destroy it, but of course, the way out of it is it's not Starfleet, it's Section 31. So that's their way of being like, but then I'm not sure if they're trying to say it's because they're like, oh, the quickest and easiest way to make any group of people fall apart, and I'm like, oh god, I don't know the message that they're trying to say here. and
I mean, Section 31's evil. I got that. You don't need to send that message. But,
yeah, so I was kind of really uncomfortable with the whole. I kind of saw the path that they were going, but it was also kind of like, oh, careful.
Yeah,
careful.
but you know what? Of any Star Trek show, Deep Space Nine would be the one to address religion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's fitting for this show to question. Now, the outcome, who knows? I really am not sure what they were going to do with it, but bringing up the questions is very Star Trek.
And I also like, I mean, in their defense, so if, seeing this episode, in their defense, they would come back the next day in real life and then look at that whiteboard and be like, yeah, that was stupid, wasn't it? No, you saw them doing the rough draft, so they would get to think about it for a second. And
that's
then come
why
back
it takes 2 days.
I know, that's right. Well, just like real writing, once I'm done, I don't hit the send button. I'm like, okay, let me walk away for a couple hours and then look at it again and be like,
right, tear it all up, do it all over again, and then you do that 5 times, and then maybe you've got something halfway decent.
Mm-hmm.
The other element I just wanted to bring up, and I can't remember specifically if they mentioned it during the season 8 writers thing. They may have, or it might have been slightly later. But when they were talking about, they're like, one of the things we're most proud of is not inducting Bajor into the Federation.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know what message you're trying to tell us there. Like
they hate Star Trek, Daniel.
That was a very conflicting message. I'm like, well, wait, hang on. Like, why are you proud of that? Is it just because you're subverting expectations? But like, this is the goal. This is where we're all trying to be. This is a giant organization that accepts and embraces everyone. Why is that a good thing and a thing to be proud of? I can't remember if it was in the context of season 8 or not, but it was just a thing that came up to me, and I'm like, what does this mean? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own opinions, but I don't know.
I mean, are we getting another Defiant in the next episode? Because we just had one. That's what I want to know.
Theoretically, we could, right?
Season 2 is like, well, it was going to be like the, USS Powhatan, but
what actually destroyed the Defiant was its own engines ripping itself apart because it's too powerful for its own good.
Like, it's got the 30-year-old design, but we still have another one for you. So,
but no, I think
they're like this
cool.
big.
It was a good hook.
Easy to make them.
If I saw this as a pilot for season 8, I would be like, okay. I want to see where this goes.
The other 21 episodes are going to do.
Yeah, well, and just like you said, like long-form storytelling, like, in a world that now accepts that, I would be interested to see what they do, because I think they could do it really well.
Yeah, one thing I would be, like, this is me, and everyone's different, I know. It is, in a way, very Discovery in how it's doing the serialization. Like, it's having all these elements, like this big, conspiracy and all these other woven things. Like, okay, so I mean, is that going to be the hope? That's not the whole season, like, because it's so heavy. Like, where's the humor? Where's the because the Deep Space Nine had, where's the little green men? Where's all the other things, the character moments, which they would do. I know that first season you're pumping a lot, and especially because you're sort of reboot's the wrong word, but if you're really doing this 20 years later, there's a lot to restart the series with. You gotta get the blood pumping and everything. But it's like episode 4, it settles down, right? There's we can just hear what's going on and all that stuff. But one thing I thought was interesting about what we saw was, we often hear, I don't say because Twitter is its own universe, I know, but there is certainly a sector out there that's very Berman bashing. Just like to point out, he is always with the group, and on this documentary, he's involved. He's not treated like a vampire. They do not hit him with a stake and kill him.
He was just given the responsibility after Roddenberry passed, and he kind of just took the torch as best he could. Mm-hmm. No, I have nothing against Berman.
Yeah. So I just like, people can think what, but obviously the Deep Space Nine cast and I were still party with him. He's still at Brent Spiner's table. So don't take it too far is all I'm saying. But yeah, and bringing it back a little bit, what'd you all think, particularly this one scene where Ira and whoever it was, I forget who it was, were sort of doing the checklist of what Deep Space Nine did or didn't do? Did you all agree with what you saw and felt they deserved all those ticks?
I was still kind of trying to get a feel for if this was going to be a happy documentary or a bashing documentary at that point. I was kind of just like, where are we going with this? But
it feels a little like self-congratulatory to do like something like that.
But the last one, Daniel, they said they didn't do good. So
I mean, which is nice, but to be like, we did great. We didn't do everything we could, but we still did great. It's still a weird thing because I don't know. It's strange from somebody who was in the trenches. Normally, you're given praise by someone else. You don't. I don't know. I just thought it was a strange segment. That just felt like Ira being Ira, and maybe like trying to acknowledge where they fell short, and they could have done better. But it comes across as kind of, to me, just a little weird, a little odd.
Yeah, sure. What did you think? Because I think everyone's different, but from a writing standpoint, when I forget who he was interviewing, I don't know if it was Armin or someone else or Aaron or someone else, that Ira was talking to, and the actor was all like, "Oh, Ira, you must have felt bad." People were saying bad things, and I was like, "No, I didn't really give it." I was writing what which, and I think as a writer myself, I think that's 70% me. Like, once I'm done and I like it, if people like it or don't like it, okay, whatever. It's probably because you're doing it wrong when you watch it. But of course, 30%, especially because I do a lot of live theater. I want a good audience reaction. If I don't get that, I'm like, ugh. But I don't know, Char, what did you sort of think about the hearing back and feedback as a writer, and how much you should listen to the audience and how much it's just you're going to write what you like?
I think I've heard this from so many writers that I think it has to be true. Once you are, up on your skill, you have to trust in yourself to create a good product. You are not going to make everybody happy. So you cannot be writing, you can't be catering to your audience, because if you listen to everything that people are saying, it's no longer your work. It's like it's writing by committee, and that does not work. So I totally understood that point of view of, I'm going to write what makes me happy, and if other people appreciate it, that's great. I don't know. I felt completely heard and understood with that. I could completely relate to that. And yeah, you have to have a thick freaking skin, because you are going to get complaints. People are going to disagree with you. They're not going to like your work. That's okay. You're not always right, but you have to accept that, and then you kind of have to learn from it and move on. So be it.
Yeah. All right, well, let's close it up here. There's a lot more we could say, and a lot that we'll leave on the cutting room floor, like the documentary itself. But so let's just do a final thoughts round table. We'll do Darren, Daniel, Char. So Darren, final thoughts, documentary, random stuff, final thoughts, whatever you want.
The whole thing was random stuff. That
while
was
you're
the
talking,
documentary
Darren,
that I saw.
The credits are going to roll, so you go ahead and do what you want.
So, gosh, yeah, one thing I felt that this talk about this documentary didn't have. Why didn't we talk about? No, I'm just kidding. As long as the music doesn't start. No, it was good. I really enjoyed seeing it. I definitely want to pick up the Blu-ray because I want the extra bonuses and to be able to rewatch, that HD stuff whenever I want. And, I think it's also inspired me to do another a DS9 rewatch, which I haven't done in a long time. And I think, it's a good show, and I do love that they did get in a shot of Al Moraine at the very end. That was cracking me up, and it was Nana. It's like, oh, we didn't do this, and he's like, oh, you're right, and it just played. They knew their audience. This was definitely made for fans of DS9. Like the whole thing, you can tell that is a very targeted audience, and that's fine. That's what documentaries are for, education as well, but. The people in that theater with us and us talking on this podcast, we are who are going to get the most out of this. And they played every single moment for impact, and they did a good job. I'm really glad that this happened. And, now I want to Voyager documentary because I want to see, why we were stranded or whatever they're gonna call it. You know,
Far From Home.
Far From Home.
Yeah, Future's End. So Daniel, Pally Boy, what'd you think about it?
Yeah, it's not perfect, and it has plenty of issues, but it feels almost perfectly representative of Deep Space Nine. It's strange, it's a little offbeat, it's maybe a bit full of itself sometimes, but it's fun and it's exciting and it's different, and it feels like it fits the flavor of Deep Space Nine so perfectly that I really, warts and all, it represents that show so well. I think it was, it hit it out of the park, and I had a great time watching it, and I'm sure I'll pick it up and I'll watch it again.
Now, they did not show the baseball episode, Daniel. So
the baseball was featured, though.
But not the baseball episode.
Kira still had the baseball.
That's
in
true.
Season 8.
Yeah. I like how she actually isn't running the station as the major, but she still has. Yeah. So, Char, what'd you think about What We Left Behind?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a celebration for fans, for the show, of the show. Had a little bit of everything, and I appreciated it. Even if it was just a little bit jumbled, it did work. I do think it was representative of Deep Space Nine in that sense. Yeah, maybe that is why it works, but it was also well produced. I do feel like they did a nice job of editing the footage, and I cannot wait to see what else in the special features is on that DVD that they didn't quite put in that was probably just as worthy of going in there, because I think they said you could do an 8-hour documentary and it still wouldn't be enough. Yeah, and you know what? We as an audience, we would probably watch all 8 hours of it and eat it up, but you got to draw a line somewhere. So I feel like they did a very good job without going overboard, if that makes any sense, because it was nice, it was intense, it was upbeat, and it did not feel like 2 hours at all. So it was a very good time.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I assume they aren't joking that they have trials and tribulations on the special features, as they said. So, so definitely a lot of pull for the Blu-ray and digital release coming in the fall. So we'll do this reverse order. Char, if folks want to talk about your Vic Fontaine Holosuite program, where can they reach you?
They can reach me on Twitter, and my handle is the Profanity. And if you want to hear me blather on in more writer's room scenarios, check out Punch It, Writing in Star Trek with my co-host Tristan Riddell, and that's right here on the Nerd Party Network.
And Daniel, if people want to join your hashtag Bring Back Captain Nog petition, where can they find you?
They can find me and Aaron Eisenberg on Twitter, but you can find me specifically at OneUpDan. That's the number one, not the word.
And Darren, if folks want to see your interview that got cut, where can they find you?
Always on the cutting room floor, never on the big screen. And they can find me on Twitter, Twitch, or Instagram under username Dr. Sci-Fi, DRSCIFI.
And if folks want to see me in my tuxedo, they can find me at NC Public Servant or journeying across time and space, talking about Doctor Who with my wife Jessica here on the Nerd Party. Well, until next week, when we take off our tuxedos and put back our spacesuits, I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
I'm Darren Moser.
And I'm Charlene Schmidt.
Stranded here on City Alpha 3.
Okay.
Hey guys, we just got out of What We Left Behind, the DS9 documentary, and man, it was a documentary about Deep Space Nine.
Yes, it was very good, very well produced. I had a good time. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, everything that they did in HD was beautiful. It makes me want to become a millionaire so I can just say, let's take this, $80 million or whatever it's going to cost off to the side and just be the man who HDs DS9. I want to be that man. But, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not today, but just seeing the characters, seeing the actors, we all hear about it's a family, and you really felt that coming through. But I like just how it was put together because... Yeah. You can tell that the documentary people, they're like, okay, well, we want this piece and we want this piece and we want these kind of motions. We want to make sure we talk about this and this. And it's definitely, pulled in all these different directions, but it does come together.
It really does. It is really interesting. They have all these different pieces and they do find a way to meld them together. Now, do you have a favorite piece?
Oh, favorite piece. I mean, the singing is great. I like
Yes,
how it
that's
opens up.
great bookends.
Yeah,
Yes.
with a lot of good singing, and I just like how they talk about the fans a lot. I mean, they're definitely really appreciative. It did start off a little bit on a negative tone, kind of like we're the black
Well,
sheep, and
Reading the nasty letters. Hey, that was kind of fun.
Which, I mean, I always liked Deep Space Nine, so I never felt like that. But it was a bit of context, and I think it helped show, what they went through. But at the end, I want to get the Blu-ray because I want to see the extra cutting room floor stuff about Trouble and Tribulations and the
Yes.
Visitor and Pale Moonlight and all. Hopefully, it's all there.
Should be fun. My favorite part, writer's room. Hello, I do a podcast where
Oh,
we
yeah,
do our
of
theoretical
course.
writer's room every single week. Well, most weeks.
And I would watch that season 8. I mean, they
broke an incredibly
Yeah.
cool story where I could see potential for a season-long arc, which is the thing these
Yeah.
days. Boy, still got it, and I got some great ideas.
I mean, again, it would take a little bit to rebuild the station, but I
Sure.
think that it was a really interesting story. They liked blowing stuff up.
Who doesn't like blowing shit up?
But you still have all these actors around and set it 20 years later, and I think
And
that would
bam.
work great. Yeah, and bam, as
Good
I
time.
would say, and boom.
And boom. Yes, and then you're going to work on your purple hair dye job.
Yeah, but no, it was good, and I think I need to start a rewatch again because
Me
it's been
too.
too long since I visited the station.
So glad you said that. I've been saying this for I don't know how many years. I should really watch DS9 again. You know what? This might get me to finally get on my butt, sitting on my butt, and doing that.
And I'll be wishing it was in HD every single second, but
Yeah. We can use our imaginations as the
Yes.
document
we are
dictates
able to
at
do
some
that
point.
as Star Trek fans, so
There
it
we
works
go.
out.
All right, well, everybody, go see it if you haven't seen it.
See you later.
Char!